Hello, I'm Dilek Tuna. Welcome to Africa News. Here are the top stories. Pope Leo arrives in Algeria, where he starts his African tour. Djibouti president wins election with 97.8% of the vote. And 200 people are believed to be dead after an airstrike on a village market in Nigeria. Djibouti President Ismail Omar Guelleh has won re-election with 97.8% of the vote, securing a sixth term in office. The 78-year-old extends his 27-year rule over the strategically located East African nation, which hosts multiple foreign military bases. Turnout was 80%, while opposition groups largely boycotted the vote, citing concerns over fairness. Pope Leo has arrived in Algeria, marking the start of his first major overseas tour of 2026. Algeria is the first stop on the Pope's 10-day tour of 4 African countries in a bid to urge global leaders to address the needs of the continent, where more than a fifth of the world's Catholics live.
Pope Leo landed in Algiers on Monday, where he was received by Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune at the airport before holding further talks at the presidential palace. The visit marks the first stop of a 10-day tour across 4 African countries, aimed at drawing global attention to the continent, where more than a fifth of the world's Catholics live. The trip is one of the most complex papal tours in recent years, covering nearly 18,000 kilometres and 11 cities across Algeria, Cameroon, Angola and Equatorial Guinea. Despite Algeria being an overwhelmingly Muslim country, the visit is seen as symbolically significant for the Catholic Church and its growing presence in Africa. The Pope's arrival also comes after a public attack from US President Donald Trump, who criticised him over his stance on global conflicts. Speaking aboard his flight, Pope Leo dismissed the criticism and said he would continue to speak out against war. During his stay in Algiers, the Pope also visited a major national monument, where he delivered a message focused on peace and justice.
The future belongs to men and women of peace. In the end, justice will always triumph over injustice, just as violence, despite all appearances, will never have the last word.
This is the third journey of Pope Leo outside Italy since the beginning of his pontificate. He is expected to continue his tour in Cameroon next, followed by visits to Angola and Equatorial Guinea later this week.
Algeria is taking a firmer stance on its colonial past with France. A new law stops short of demanding reparations but keeps the issue alive. The question now is whether this opens the door to dialogue or deepens tensions further. Here's more.
Algeria's upper house, the Council of the Nation, has approved a new law declaring French colonisation a crime. The move comes weeks after the lower house passed the same bill. The law refers to France's rule over Algeria from 1830 to 1962. Officials say it aims to protect national memory and honour those who suffered during that period. Earlier drafts called for an official apology and possible reparations from France, but Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune clarified that Algeria is seeking recognition of past crimes, not financial compensation. The final version removes broad demands for reparations. However, it keeps provisions for victims of French nuclear tests in the Sahara. Tensions between Algeria and France remain high. Disputes over migration, history, and France's support for Morocco on Western Sahara continue to strain ties. President Tebboune says direct talks with his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron, are key to resolving the dispute. In 2021, Macron acknowledged that the colonization of Algeria was a crime against humanity, but stopped short of offering a formal state apology.
Turkey has begun its first overseas deep-sea oil exploration with the Çağrı vessel arriving off Mogadishu. The project, carried out in partnership with Somalia, will drill to a depth of 7,500 metres, placing it among the world's deepest offshore operations.
Turkey's deep-sea drilling vessel Chagri Bey arrived off the coast of Mogadishu to launch the country's first overseas deep-sea oil exploration project. The project follows seismic surveys conducted by the Oruj race vessel, which collected data over 234 days across 3 offshore blocks. The surveys helped determine the drilling location. Turkish Energy Minister Alparslan Bayraktar said the project marked a new era in Turkish petroleum exploration. The planned well will reach a depth of 7,500 meters.
The area where it will operate is offshore, about 370 kilometers from here, with a water depth of approximately 3,500 meters. From the seabed, we are planning a drilling depth of 4,000 meters, reaching a total depth of 7,500 meters. In this respect, it will be the second deepest offshore drilling operation in the world.
Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud underlined that the country's natural resources are a shared national asset and stressed the importance of ensuring their benefits reach all citizens.
Profits from the resources will benefit all Somalis, wherever they live in the country. There is no concept that a well drilled in one region belongs only to the people of that region. Natural resources are national wealth and will benefit all Somalis, equally or through different mechanisms.
Turkey is one of Somalia's main military and economic partners, with Ankara inaugurating its largest overseas base in Mogadishu in 2017. The drilling campaign is expected to last nearly 10 months, with weather conditions in the region likely to remain a key factor.
An airstrike has hit northeastern Nigeria, killing hundreds. The incident happened on Saturday night, and at least 200 people are feared dead. The strike was carried out during an operation against militants. Local authorities say it happened near a market, impacting many civilians. Officials describe the incident as very serious. Emergency services have been deployed to the area. Witnesses say people were in panic after the blast. Turning to Benin now, and its presidential election being closely watched as a test of whether the government's development record can overcome rising security concerns. Polling stations closed across Benin on Sunday, ending voting in a presidential election expected to hand victory to Finance Minister Romuald Wadagni. The provisional results are expected in the coming days. Here's that report.
As Benin heads into a presidential election, voters are weighing a decade of visible economic change against growing security concerns. At an industrial site near Cotonou, young workers are cutting and stitching fabric inside newly built production units. The factory reflects Benin's push to process more of its own cotton at home, create jobs, and keep more value inside the country.
Creating value, generating wealth, and ensuring that wealth is shared among those who produce it, from cotton farmers to the processing of the raw material and the manufacture of t-shirts, military uniforms, and leggings at this facility. The idea is simple. We have the raw material, so why not process it ourselves before shipping it out? We remain firmly committed to this approach within our group.
For the ruling camp, projects like this are part of a broader case to voters that industrial growth, infrastructure spending, and modernised public services are delivering visible results.
Not everyone is lucky enough to have a job these days, but I am one of the lucky ones. I leave every morning and return in the evening, and I am happy with my job.
But analysts say the election is also a test of whether those gains can outweigh worsening insecurity in northern Benin and wider concerns about national stability.
It is very important to contain the deteriorating security situation in northern Benin, as it could have a national impact. In many cases across West Africa and beyond, worsening insecurity has affected the mindset of the armed and security forces and, at times, contributed to coups. So there is a link between security deterioration and political stability at the national level. Benin must be very careful about this risk. The failed coup attempt last December does not mean the danger has been eliminated.
The vote is now seen as a measure of whether economic momentum and visible development remain more persuasive to voters than security fears and governance concerns.
Made in Benin labels are gaining ground globally thanks to investment in textile manufacturing. At a new industrial hub, Benin is turning its cotton into finished garments and boosting employment. Here's that report.
Benin, Africa's largest cotton producer, is moving up the value chain by turning raw fibre into finished textiles at a new industrial hub. At the Glo Jigbe industrial zone, the country is pushing to industrialise its economy and reduce reliance on raw exports.
Most African countries, for the longest time, Benin have always exported its raw agricultural commodities and its mining resources. But starting in 2016, we had a new president, President Talon, who wanted to change Benin economy. And for that, he wanted to industrialize the country.
Benin produces more than 750,000 tonnes of cotton each year. In the past, much of it was exported to countries like India and Bangladesh for processing. Now, the new industrial zone is helping to keep more of that value at home. The project is expected to create tens of thousands of jobs, with more than 600 already in place.
I used to work, but it wasn't profitable. However, thanks to Navaria Textile at GDIZ, I had the opportunity to come here to work and learn about the necessary machinery, as well as to improve my skills in certain areas.
Benin has already begun exporting finished garments to international markets, positioning its Made in Benin label as both competitive and more sustainable, using locally sourced cotton and cleaner energy.
That's all we have today on Africa News. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to A News for all the latest developments.